Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating, honestly, highly charged piece of media. We're looking at a recent commentary video from the YouTube channel Unwoke Thoughts, which breaks down a pretty intense interview with Elon Musk. And what's so wild about this source material is that what starts off as a fierce, grounded debate about modern political polarization, media bias, and cultural labels, well, it takes a surprisingly sharp, almost dizzying pivot halfway through. We literally go from arguing about present-day political definitions straight into discussing the existential future of humanity and artificial intelligence. It's a completely wild progression of ideas, and we're going to unpack exactly how the commentary frames both sides of this massive conversation. So here's our quick roadmap for today. First, we're going to look at the political label debate, then check out the clash over public influence. From there, we make a massive pivot to Musk's 5-year AI prediction, and finally, we'll wrap up by exploring the future of AI safety. All right, let's jump right in with Section 1, the political label debate. The source video actually kicks off with this remarkably tense exchange. When a reporter attempts to frame certain viewpoints as extreme, notice how directly Musk pushes back here. He literally calls the characterization absurd, false, and nonsense. And the YouTube host? They passionately champion Musk's stance on this. According to the host, left-leaning journalists basically exist in a, and this is their exact term, brainwashed media bubble, where they've been taught by universities to view everyday common-sense beliefs as somehow extreme. So the whole commentary framing is heavily focused on this idea of a massive cultural disconnect between media elites and everyday citizens. To counter that extremist label, Musk actually breaks his political philosophy down into 3 pretty simple principles: secure borders, safe cities, and sensible spending. He directly challenges the reporter, basically asking, which of these 3 concepts is actually a far-right fringe idea. Musk argues that if you look back just 10 or 15 years, these were completely standard, universally accepted political goals. The YouTube host highlights this exact moment as a major victory, arguing that these are just the basic rights and desires of actual everyday citizens, and they suggest that labeling them as extremist is just a deliberate tactic to shut down debate. Moving right along to Section 2, clashing over public influence. Now, the interview shifts away from specific policies to the sheer scale of Musk's reach. I mean, just look at this number, 250 million. That is 250 million followers. The reporter uses this staggering figure to question Musk's power, essentially asking if his immense wealth and this massive megaphone caused people to loathe him for trying to influence politics. But Musk's retort is swift and super pointed. He acknowledges that, sure, some people might dislike him, but he argues that out of those 250 million followers, far more people like him than don't. And then he completely flips the script. He tells the reporter that far more people hate the media than hate him. It's a really sharp deflection that directly attacks the institutional credibility of the press. And this brilliantly illustrates the YouTube host's core argument about a media double standard. Consider the contrast they're drawing here. On one hand, you have Elon Musk facing intense media scrutiny for his political involvement. But on the other, the host points to progressive billionaire George Soros. The host argues that despite Soros heavily funding local district attorneys to influence the justice system, his influence gets largely ignored by the press. Now, regardless of where you personally stand on these figures, the source video uses this comparison to forcefully argue its point. The media doesn't actually hate billionaires influencing politics. They only hate billionaires who challenge their specific worldview. Okay, buckle up, because here is where things get really wild. Section 3, the 5-year AI prediction. Right as the political debate hits its absolute peak, the conversation pivots entirely to this single number, 5. Musk predicts that in roughly 5 years, artificial intelligence will exceed the sum total of human intelligence. It is a staggering thought. We aren't talking about some distant sci-fi future. We are talking about half a decade. Musk states that in 5 years, there will likely be nothing that AI cannot do better than us, with the sole exception of just being human. The YouTube host, who actually admits to using AI frequently and noting its crazy rapid progression over just the last few months, completely pauses their political commentary to express sheer awe and honestly a bit of apprehension at this incredibly tight timeline. To really understand the scale of this, look at how tight this timeline actually is. From rapidly progressing present-day models like Grok, we hit that singularity point in just 5 years, where AI exceeds all human intelligence combined. But zooming out to 2036, assuming we avoid a global catastrophe, like say World War III, which Musk grimly notes is entirely possible, he predicts we will enter an age of amazing abundance. He describes an era where goods and services are practically limitless, and anyone can have anything they can think of. It's an incredibly utopian vision of the future, driven entirely by artificial superintelligence. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, the future of AI safety. So, how do we actually get there safely? Well, Musk has a very specific biological intuition about this. He fully admits it would be pure vanity to think humans could actively control a super genius AI that is vastly smarter than us. I mean, no way, right? Instead, he argues we have to program it with foundational good values from the start. The absolute most crucial of these, according to Musk, is that the AI must be maximally truth-seeking. By forcing the AI to prioritize objective reality above all else, Musk believes it will naturally align with human prosperity. It's going to want us to be happy and to thrive, simply because our survival and flourishing are aligned with the objective truth of the universe. And this leads to, honestly, the most fascinating dynamic of the entire source video. You have Elon Musk predicting this highly optimistic age of abundance, viewing AI as this amazing utopian tool. But contrast that with the YouTube channel host. Remember, this host just spent the entire first half of the video fiercely defending Musk politically. Yet when it comes to AI, they completely diverge. The host views Musk's predictions with sheer existential fear. They actually describe the way tech developers talk about AI as freaky, noting it sounds like they're trying to appease some separate, uncontrollable entity and basically just hoping it decides to keep us alive. It's a stark reminder that these massive technological leaps create anxieties that completely cross over our typical political boundaries. Which leaves us with this final provocative question to synthesize everything we've covered in this explainer today. We spent the first half deep in the trenches of today's culture wars, arguing over what makes someone normal or far right and dissecting media bias. But as we look at Musk's 5-year timeline for super intelligent AI, we really have to ask, as this technology accelerates toward an age of unimaginable abundance or potentially profound disruption, will any of our current political labels even matter? Will the fierce ideological battles of today hold any weight at all in tomorrow's age of superintelligence? It is a massive shift in perspective, and it's absolutely something to keep thinking about long after this explainer ends. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and keep your curiosity sharp.